Hi. I
How are
have
you?
to wish you a belated happy Earth Day.
Yeah, yesterday. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a big deal, Earth Day. Come on. Where did
Were
it
you out
start?
were you out
Started here.
dancing in the earth and twirling around by a fire? What happens on to Belinda Weymouth on Earth Day?
On Earth Day. Well, here's the thing. I am very handicapped right now because I had a little
Oh,
accident with a horse while I was in New Zealand. And so I've got my foot in a boot. So I
oh
can't be
no.
hiking. And I mean, I would have been surfing and saying,
Sure.
aloud to the dolphins and the pelicans. But sadly, but I tell you what I'm doing. I'm really communing with the hummingbirds that I've got around me, and I'm going to get to
Nice.
those. Well, I'll talk about those actually for because one of the things I think is really important to do on Earth Day is to connect with the planet. And and I did this thing because you know how everyone's always telling you to have an edible garden. It's so important to grow your own vegetables, blah blah blah.
Right.
So I used to grow all my, I grew tomatoes, beautiful tomatoes, and I grew kale and beans and blah blah blah. But I was really in a competition with the fauna that live out there. So I had raccoons who would just take my lettuce plants and throw them over their shoulders, laughing. They didn't even eat them. And squirrels would take a big bite out of some gorgeous heirloom tomato I'd, grown, but while it was still green, and they'd totally wreck it. And then when I was sick, when I had cancer, some friends said to me, "Oh, we're in the cancer garden in Chicago. We're thinking of you." And I was like, "Oh, I want my own cancer garden. I'm not going to Chicago. I'm going to have one right here." So I switched over, and now I grow herbs and flowers. And I felt a bit sort of like, "Oh, is that the wrong thing to do?" But I have a lot of pollinators now. And in fact, right outside this window here, very close to my front door, I have a hummingbird mummy who's laying her egg. She's got a tiny little nest. We've got two more nests in the tree out that window. So we've sort of, I've created this little hummingbird sanctuary. Last year it was monarch butterflies. I had 15 or 18 live births of monarchs because I grow milkweed. I grow the native one, the one that has the white flowers. Don't grow the one that's orange that you can get at Home Depot. They don't. They like the native one. So I've got my own little ecosystem. So I enjoyed that for Earth Day. That was a little bit of a long story, but
No, no, that's great. I love it. Oh, look at
yeah,
there's a
yeah,
hummingbird.
yeah.
That's
I
exciting.
actually posted it on my story the other day,
Mm.
and then a friend sent me on Instagram how hummingbirds, and I'm actually watching this one in the tree out here. They come in with tiny little pieces. They sort of and they poke them with their beaks into the nest, and they sort of grow this little kind of nest that's shaped like that around their bodies. And the little one who we've got out here, Hummy Mummy, I call her,
Mhm.
she she sort of knows that we're her friends. She doesn't fly away every time we come out. She'll just sort of sit there, and watch us go by. We're very close to her. I mean, we're within, a couple of feet of her, but we're very respectful. I've lowered the curtain so she's got privacy. It's
Aw.
gorgeous. I'm loving it. I'm really loving it.
Yeah, very
And
cool.
and I really want to talk about Earth Day because Earth Day started here, everybody. It started in America, 55 years ago. And it is to this day, it is the biggest moment of civil action that ever happened in the world. It was 20 million Americans took to the street. At the time, that was 1 in 10 Americans. They were in their jeans and t-shirts. They were in their suits. Everyone was out there because they really got it. The planet is imperiled right now, and we care about the planet. And what had happened in the 60s. So first of all, we had the wonderful, so 75th anniversary. Our power, our planet. Yeah, we have nothing if we don't have the planet, guys.
Mhm.
I'm gonna be a beaten drum today. I just am. Get ready. So
Mhm.
it was this huge day of civil, or not. Wasn't going to say civil unrest because it was really just a civil gathering. It
Sure.
was people who got together to say the planet's important. So what led up to this? So in 1962, we had Rachel Carson write her amazing book, Silent Spring. And that was all about the devastation that was happening to birds in America because of all the DDT use. After World War II, we used it to kill insects everywhere. And what did it do? It bioaccumulated up into big birds like osprey, and the spring was silent. There weren't, the eggs that they laid, the shells were so thin that as the parents were trying to, incubate the eggs, they were just cracking, and they were being destroyed. So it was a silent spring. She wrote the book. She had an incredible amount of backlash. She was really belittled and denigrated by the male scientific population. But she persevered and she wrote that book. And then, of course, we had the famous river in Ohio catching fire in the 60s,
Yeah.
terrible oil spill. I love how I just like it's just out there. The ocean's over there. That's why I'm pointing, everyone. The ocean's out that way. So there was that awful oil spill that happened off the coast of Santa Barbara. It was so bad that President Nixon came to look at it. I mean, it was awful, awful. And from that first Earth Day, and from those environmental sort of wake-up calls about how much we were polluting, because that river in Ohio, that wasn't the first time it caught on fire. It was always catching on fire. There were so many toxic chemicals in it. And what Nixon said was, we have abused the planet for too long. We're taking this, our home for granted, and we can't do that anymore. And basically, he said, this has come after 150 years of unregulated industrial development. And I'm going to really spell it out because we're having, sort of the opposite happen right now. So he talked about how dangerous this was, and we got the Clean Water Act, we got the Clean Air Act. Yeah, that's the fire on the Ohio River. I don't know that I can pronounce it right. That's why I'm not saying its name. Hoka. So he also said it was up to government, to industry, and to individuals to take care of this problem and to pay for it. He talked about industry, paying for their polluting ways. And we got the Clean Air and the Clean Water Act and the EPA, and other countries followed suit. This is when America really was a leader. And other countries said, oh, we want to have an environmental protection agency. What an amazing idea. We want to have clean water and clean air for our children. What an amazing idea, America. Thank you. National parks. Thank you, America. And it was really important. And cut to what we have now. We had yesterday the Trump administration, their announcement for Earth Day was, hey, it's really great. We've got a president now who believes in science and no more Green New Scam. And it's like we have a president now who calls climate change a hoax and who's stripping away all the protections and gutting any kind, or wants to gut any kind of regulation. I mean, it's criminal, what's happening. And the crazy thing is, so the Secretary of the Interior is a guy called Doug Burgum, and he signed this order. And it now allows an unelected official, an oil CEO, if you will, out of Texas, a guy called Tyler Hassan. And he's now got control over the Interior Department. So it's 70,000 employees. It's the budget, and it's the department. And that department, there's a lot of things that fall under that umbrella. It's the BLM, the Bureau of Land Management. It's all, Native Americans. It's the Indian Bureau of Affairs and Education. I mean, there are so many things that fall under that. And one of the things that's really scary is that this is all part of,
Okay.
Yeah, that guy. So this is all part of the manifesto, if you will, of Project 2025. And it's, how do we open up American federal land, the 500 million acres of it, the 700 million acres that are underground with all those minerals that we want to get at, the 3.2 billion acres that's offshore, in the parts of the ocean that are easy to get to, our 200-mile economic zone off the shores of the east and the west coast of the US. It's opening it up to them and to developers. And what Trump keeps on talking about is that America should be under the stewardship of Americans. But my people, is he talking about you and me and Kim and Albert and Mark? No, he's not talking about them. He's talking about rich Americans who would be able to buy that federal land, which, by the way, makes us billions of dollars in tourism dollars for people who come to see our magnificent national parks. It would put them in charge of it. They would have the stewardship of it. Now, do you think they want to keep it for everyone's recreation and use, I doubt it. I highly doubt it. So I think it's this Earth Day is important, and we need to be paying attention, especially as Trump has shown us that he is going after nonprofits. He wants to take away. He went after Harvard last week. He showed us they want to take away Harvard's nonprofit status. There was already a move by the Republican-led Congress a few years ago to give the Treasury Department this ability, using the IRS sort of against nonprofits and taking away their nonprofit status, if you could prove, and who knows what the level of proof would have to be, that they were terrorist organizations. Well, everybody, nonprofits, the Environmental Defense Fund, the NRDC, 350.org, Heal the Bay. I mean, I could go on and on. Listen, they're at the front lines of fighting for the protection of our nature, and we depend on that. That's what we survive on. I mean, there's, one of the really amazing quotes, and I don't want to sound didactic, you guys. I don't want to be lecturing. I'm just saying this stuff because I think it's important. And I think on Earth Day, we need to think about it. But, Rachel Carson, what she said is, it's not that we have to learn how to manipulate and control Mother Nature. We have to learn how to control ourselves and what we do with Mother Nature. And I think those are really, that's a really important concept, and we're running, way wide of it right now. And one of the things that happens on Earth Day, they talk about all these little things that you can do to be connected to the earth. And if people didn't do it, I would encourage them to do it today. There she is.
Mm-hmm.
She's such a hero. She's such a hero. I mean, she was ill when she was, when that book was published in 1962. She died 2 years later of breast cancer. So despite ill health and she had this barrage of people trying to stop her. She was, indefatigable. She was not going to be stopped. It was important, and she wanted to get that message out. And she birthed this incredible thing for us. So we have a lot to be grateful for. And thank you for getting that photo, Albert.
Yeah.
It actually makes me feel a little bit emotional.
Mm.
So one of the things that's really important to do, and we've talked about this before, and how amazing it is for our well-being, is to be out in nature. And even if you can't go take a hike in a state park or a national park, or there isn't a green space near you, just walking around your neighborhood, you'll be amazed when you're walking what you see, the plants that are there, that you will, see insects and nature at work. And you see so much more by walking. And then you'll also be out of your car, so you won't be putting CO2 into the atmosphere. The Swedes have this new thing. It's called plorking, and it's PLALKING, and it's picking up litter while you're walking.
Sure.
So you've got like a double whammy. And then if you're bending down, you'll see what's in the cracks in the pavement, a beautiful little weed that's grown up, defying all odds.
What's interesting about that is I think when people take even a moment, or sometimes when you have a special moment where you connect with nature, and
Yeah.
even if it doesn't last for very long, even if it's only for a couple of seconds, whether you're enjoying the feel of the sun on your face or the breeze or whatever it might be, those moments that allow you to connect with nature make you care more about nature. And the
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
people that care about nature, the more we're protecting what we have.
Yeah. And they
Yeah.
also make you feel good. It makes you feel
Mhm.
happy. It's you connect with it, but it feeds your soul.
Mhm.
And there was one story that I said that had some amazing sculptures in it, but maybe it's hard to show, Albert, because it's like you sort of scroll through them, but it's all these incredible sculptures that they've made all around the world. And of course, what are they made out of? Plastic.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
It looks like
So
plastic bottle tops,
yeah,
that
plastic
one.
bottles. Oh, this guy's
Mhm.
made of tires. So he's made of tires. Um, that's cans made into an LGBTQ rainbow. So
Wow.
that's cool. I think that guy is paper. Um, the ones out of plastic are amazing, and I wanted to show
Mhm.
those to you, Kim, because it's a big deal to you. And you sent me that awful story about nano and microplastics being
Ah,
linked to higher rates of stroke. So
yes.
we really have to think about this stuff. We're living in this world of plastic. It's not good for our health. And that's another thing you can do. So she's sitting in some tires, and tires have plastic in them, just so you know. So those have tires. Our paint has plastic in it. It's a beautiful recycled whale coming out of a river. There's art in the process of being made.
Mhm.
Um, I did want to tell. Do we have time? Do I have time to tell you the story about what's happening in Weymouth
Please.
Seacliff Centre in England? Okay,
Yes,
I had
please.
to get the name in because it's my
I was
name.
gonna say of the same name, yes.
Yeah, they spell it with an E though. So these guys, the UK government right now is funding 15 different projects for carbon capture, and this is a
Mhm.
one that's involved with getting seawater, so getting the water out of the ocean, and it's really important because the ocean has 150 times more carbon in it than the air does. So the potential for this is huge. Now, right now it's just a pilot project, and what they do is basically it's like I got excited when I first saw it because I was like, oh, is it going to make big waves for us to surf on while it's taking the carbon out of I was like, oh man, look at that one. But no, it's not a wave maker. It's getting the carbon out of the water. So what they do is they take the water out and then they make it a little more acidic because the acid makes the CO2. And then they do this thing. They have a thing called a stripper. So this is where they're putting it all into the pipes. And the stripper is where they
That kind of stripper doesn't sound as fun, Belinda.
yeah, no, it's not. It's a different kind of stripper. It's more
Oh,
fun to
okay.
me, but yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Sorry, everyone who wants to really. Yeah, this is a different. So this stripper is this. It's basically like a pool, and the water when it gets in the pool, it's like a fizzy drink when you open a can of soda.
Mhm.
That's CO2 going into the atmosphere because that's what you're drinking, and your drink is CO2. So they get all the CO2 to bubble out. They catch it. They catch it in these charred coconut husks, if you can believe. And then what they do is they put some alkali in the water, and then they dribble it, sort of pre-diluting it, because you don't want acidic water obviously going back into the ocean, because we don't want more ocean acidification. Now this pilot project, super small, not doing that much, but the potential, what they're saying, if you could scale this up, it could take 14 billion tons of CO2 out of circulation per year if you just used 1% of the world's surface ocean. And you know that the ocean covers 71% of the Earth's surface.
Mm.
So what they're saying is if you could get a floating, ocean installation that was powered by solar panels, because obviously it's energy intensive, like all these things. So there's the water just sitting on top of the stainless steel, and the CO2 is coming out of it. And it's in its nascent stages, obviously, but it's just really important because it shows you here. So you've got the ocean water, the seawater coming out. You're removing the CO2, you're storing it, then you're putting the low carbon seawater back in. And because it's low carbon, it will absorb more CO2. And the other thing that would be good about this is the ocean is getting too full of CO2 and oxygen. In fact, so full of it, sometimes when it's hot enough, it just is releasing the CO2 and the oxygen out of the ocean, because it's much harder for gases to be dissolved in warm seawater. Cold is where they dissolve best. So that's a little bit of good news, and because we're going to have to capture the carbon, we can't just reduce our emissions at this point. But to know, please, everyone, that on Earth Day there are all these innovations happening all around the world, and they're also happening in America, but people will be being a bit hush hush about them right now.
Randy asked this question. I thought
Mm.
any carbon
Oh,
capture technology was negatively viewed within the climate change community. I didn't know that if that was the case.
well, there is, because of course what people want is they want the emissions to be lowered, and that we don't have to do carbon capture, because carbon
Mhm.
capture is energy intensive, and it's also, it's sort of like, you've let it's like the prisoner has escaped and now you're running after the prisoner to capture them. It'd just be better
Sure.
if you, made but I don't know if I love that analogy, but it is, yes. We would prefer not to be having to do carbon sequestration, carbon capture, but at this point, We do, because there's so much carbon in the
Mhm.
atmosphere, and we're already really feeling the effects of it. So, it's a thing I've said before. It's an all hands on deck
Mhm.
situation, and so anything, um, any lever that we can, pull, we have to pull at this point. We have to be, or lever, Mr. or Mrs. America.
No, you
Um,
keep saying lever, we love it.
yeah.
Go
Okay.
ahead.
So all levers. It's going to take all levers. It's going to take all our ingenuity, all our mad skills at this point.
Mhm.
So yes, it would be great if we could just lower emissions, but we're not very good at doing that. We're not very good at change. It's happening. It's happening. I mean, this is the thing. It is happening. It's just the thing. We say over and over. It needs to happen faster. So carbon capture will be one of our levers.
Well, from carbon capture to recycling plastic with art to hummingbirds in the garden, Belinda Weymouth, I love it when you stop by. Thank you so much.
Totally my pleasure. Absolutely. Have a
Thank
lovely rest of
you.
the week. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye. And that
Hi,
is
it's
It's the
Mark,
Planet.
and I thought that was great. Hit the notification bell, you'll know whenever there's a new video being dropped, and please subscribe to our channel to help us save the universe.